I'm Monty. This is the Marriage Bites podcast.
We get real about the joys and challenges of marriage through bites of wisdom we have learned over the years.
Our aim is to share this wisdom with you so your marriage won't bite. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Marriage Bites podcast. Andolyn, how's your day going today?
I am doing so awesome.
What have you been up to?
Well, I've been coaching people. I've been working on my business, thinking about my marketing and how I can dial that in.
Yeah.
And I'm recording this podcast.
Very good. Well, I have been cleaning out freezers all morning. I defrosted a large freezer and then a smaller one with our youngest, and he had a blast doing it. I'd get the ice chunks out, and then he was pounding them flat with a hammer. Mm-hmm. It was pretty funny.
That's cute.
Yeah, he really enjoyed it. So here we are today. Today we're going to be talking about
cultural expectations.
All right, that's kind of a mouthful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's dive into it, shall we?
Yes. So when you were young, what do you feel was the religious influence on what you were expected to be when you grew up?
Oh, well, there's lots of things. I mean, it wasn't just religious. There's a lot of cultural things. There's things with the family, and they all kind of intertwined. We were taught to work hard, almost to the detriment of ourselves. Taking a sick day was just not an option, and that's bled into my current life now, where I'll be sick and I really shouldn't be going to work, but I have this strong drive to go to work.
Well, what's wrong with sick days?
Nothing.
I mean, what was wrong with sick days?
Well, I was needed. I was needed to work on the farm. There was no one to take my spot. And when the hay's got to be done, the hay's got to be done. When the cows have got to be milked, they've got to be milked. I guess one of the big things, though, from the religious point of view is that it was role-based. As a guy, I was expected and told and taught that, you have to provide for your family. And if you don't provide for your family, you have failed. It's all on you. It's all on your shoulders. And that has really, really caused some angst now. I know you and I have talked about that in the past. Mm-hmm. And yeah. It can really put a lot of pressure on a man. Mm-hmm. And when he feels like he can't provide for everybody, depression can set in. Feeling inadequate can set in. And those things can really be damaging to a man.
From my side, I was taught that you get married and you stay home and take care of your children. And that good moms take care of their kids. And then there's others who are selfish and go and get a job and have a career. And you don't want to be selfish, do you? So you stay home and take care of the children, take care of everyone else, serve until you die.
Well, and what are you supposed to do when all your kids are grown then?
Yeah.
If your kids are all grown and you're 45 years old and you're an empty nester, I guess that might be young. You might be 65 and becoming an empty nester.
That's going to be us.
Speak for yourself. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Are you supposed to then just sit around and knit or crochet or I don't know?
Yeah, well, a lot of women my age, their identity is completely wrapped up in being a mom, and they don't even know who they are anymore. They don't even know what they want or who they are outside of being a mother. And I think, I'm not saying that that's in itself a bad thing. The problem is when she could be doing so much more to help the world. Like, she has so much power that's just going underutilized. And again, raising children is so important. I'm not discounting that at all. But you can do two things. You can do more than just raise children. I feel like for me, at least in this point in my life, I am finally able to give myself permission to use my gifts to make an effect in the greater community. And it's so fulfilling to me.
I really like what you said there, that you have great power. It's one thing I've really seen. Guys, we're physically strong and macho, right? And we go work and we can go throw rocks and things like that. But I've really seen you, as you've become a coach, I've really seen that power coming out of you, and it's really impressive. And it's kind of makes me feel a little bit small. If you see a picture of us, or if you've seen a picture of us, I'm kind of a big guy, and my wife, Andalyn, is kind of small. But she's really a powerful person.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Some of the things that are in religion have bled into the culture at large as well. Something that I think comes from puritanical culture, from, like, say, like the early days of the United States as a country, is that sex is bad, or that it's dirty, or that, like, having sexual desires is somehow makes you gross.
Well, that's not even cultural. Well, that is cultural, but I think it's also religious. If we could go back to the religious thing real quick. The thing is, we come from a pretty religious background, and we talk about how people in our faith back in the day crossed the plains and came out west and founded a city and then other cities, and we really talk about how strong they were and how they worked hard and how the women took care of the kids and the men had to go down and chop the trees down or whatever it was. And that's really ingrained into us.
Right, and I think the message is they sacrificed for you, so don't waste it. Like, don't mess this up, because these people died for you.
Right.
That's not been a helpful message, at least for me.
It has, and it puts a lot of pressure on everybody. And I mean, I don't think people have a real problem with working hard or doing hard things, but it's these expectations from a religious standpoint or from the culture. These expectations, sometimes they're just overwhelming, and they are not healthy.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of unhealthy cultural expectations, the idea that women have to be beautiful all the time, you have to look young, you can't get old, you can't get gray hairs or wrinkles, that you have to just be like you were 20 years old for the rest of your life, is very damaging to women. I think the marketing that companies use to sell their products actually hurts women in so many ways. That women are supposed to have it all together and be beautiful and put together and never have a mom bun or whatever.
A mom bun.
Yeah, totally. Another thing that I feel like comes down from the culture is that if a woman feels emotional, it means she's crazy. Even the word hysterectomy comes from the word hysterical, which shows that, like, women were equated as being crazy.
Some women are crazy.
Yes, I guess that could be true. But just because a woman is showing emotion doesn't mean that there's something wrong with her.
Now, for the record, all you ladies out there that are now very angry at me, to set things straight, there's a lot of crazy guys out there too.
Sure.
There's crazy all around.
Mm-hmm. So, as a man, what do you feel like the cultural influence has been for you?
Well, some of the things is that it's up to the man to make their wife happy. If something's broken in the house, it's his job to fix it, darn it. And if it doesn't, then it's on him. I think another thing, I don't know if this is necessarily a cultural thing, but I kind of see, I do see this, that there's, I don't know if a push or what you would call it, but men are stupid. There's this whole thing, and I see this in the media, you see this in commercials, where men are stupid. I can't help but think of, there's a local business here it's a heating and cooling company, where the wife and the little girl are so smart and the dad is a total buffoon and can't figure out how to call a heating and air company. I know they're trying to be funny, but I think it does really, really bad damage to men.
Yeah, I agree.
And I've seen commercials like this and things since probably the 80s.
Sitcoms. It's all over in the sitcoms.
Oh yeah, sitcoms for sure.
Yeah.
The only show that I think that doesn't do it, which is one of the best shows ever, is Star Trek. They don't make the men look stupid.
I'd have to think about that.
Sorry, Star Wars fans.
We like Star Wars too.
We do too.
We like both. Did you know that? You can like Star Wars and Star Trek. You don't have to choose.
That's almost like oil and water.
I know. But we figured out how.
Yeah. I think there's other things, like a man showing emotion besides anger, I think isn't really, I don't think that's looked upon as being a positive thing. I think people look at that as being a weakness, and it's not. And I really feel that that's a cultural thing. It's okay to cry if it's at a funeral, but only a close family member's funeral. Mm-hmm. it's not acceptable to cry or to show any kind of emotion except anger. And I think that's wrong.
Right. So basically, anybody who shows emotion, there's something wrong with you.
There's something wrong or they're weak.
Yeah.
And if they're weak, they need to go.
Right. But if women show emotion, they're weak, but it's okay because women are weak.
Right.
Right. Women, they need to be protected and saved by the man.
Well, and I think there's an interesting thing there too, is that if there's a strong woman, what is she considered?
Oh, the B word. Yeah.
That's what they say.
They do say that about her.
And it's not the case. I look at the lady who runs the coaching school that you've been going to or have gone to, Brooke Castillo. She's a powerful woman, and she's a force to be reckoned with. There's nothing wrong with it, but I know there's men out there that if they saw who she was, they would say that about her. It's a problem. And it's like,
but if you listen to her for 5 minutes, you would know that she's definitely not that. She really cares about people, and she really is genuine in her desire to help people have a better life and to get what they want in their life.
Yeah. What other influences do we have? How about influences from the family?
Yes.
Especially your extended judgy family.
Don't talk bad about my family.
I was talking about my family.
Oh, oops.
No, your family's just as judgy.
They're not judgy.
Oh, everybody's family has judgy
Right.
members.
And so when you're talking about family influence, of course, everybody's family is unique and every person is going to have kind of their own unique experience. Even brothers and sisters, each person in the family even will have their own unique experience with the way that their family upbringing has influenced them in their life. But we talked about a few that we personally experience.
Yeah.
You go first.
Oh, about my family?
Yeah.
About my judgy family?
Don't call our families judgy. That's judgy.
Oh. I don't remember if we talked about my family.
We did. Well, we talked about... Well, you kind of already talked about it.
Yeah.
So maybe I should start.
Well, I know you have a nephew who and his wife, they've chosen to take a different route than the traditional structural family as far as the wife is breadwinner. And boy, that shakes the foundation for them on a religious level, I think on a cultural level, and on a family level. And I think it's taken some time for the family at least to accept that.
Well, I think as far as I can tell, my family totally embraces whatever their choices are. I don't live close to them, but I haven't personally witnessed a lot of judgment coming from like my brothers and sisters about how my nephew and his wife choose to structure their family.
Right.
But I know that there's a lot of influences from the religious culture and also just culture at large that they have felt judgment coming from others about the way that they have chosen to live.
Right. I think all of these influences, I think you said it best just a little bit ago, is that men and women become boxed in by these influences.
Right. They're both disempowered.
Right. To where, hey, this is the culture and you have to now follow along with these cultural expectations. And if you don't, you're out or there's something wrong with you. And it doesn't empower people, like you said.
Right. So how do we get out of the box?
That's the big question.
Yes, it is.
How do we get out of the box?
Well, it starts with self-validation.
Well, wait. What is self-validation?
Self-validation is believing in yourself, essentially. It is making a choice and then telling yourself that it was the right choice. And sometimes, obviously, we'll make choices and find out later that maybe we would have done it differently. But it's really important to be able to say, I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. And so if you're going to make a choice about something and you really feel like in your heart, in your core, that it's the right choice, that if you validate yourself, then you're not necessarily going to be looking to others to validate you because they might not.
You're not going to care what they think. You're going to have enough confidence. You've said, hey, this is right for me. This is good for me and my family. You know, my wife and I, or my boyfriend and I, or however you want to swing it, have decided this is what's right for us. Now you've made that decision and you don't care what other people think. You're not looking for that validation.
Yeah, it's not that you don't care exactly in the way I see it, that you can still care what other people think, but you're not going to change the way you do things because of the things that other people say. Even if, like, because it can hurt when a parent criticizes the way you live, or it can be hard if your sister or your best friend is always saying something negative about the way that you live your life. So it's not that we just don't care, but it's that we say, I do care what you think, but I also know that this other thing is what's right for me right now. And that's self-validation, even in the face of invalidation from other people. And sometimes people will validate your choices. I feel like the way we set up our family was according to the cultural expectation. And so we did get validation with that. And that worked until it didn't. And we did talk about that a little bit in the first episode. Another thing that kind of goes along with self-validation is to trust yourself. There is such a culture of go and ask everybody else what they think. What should I do? Every time I get on Facebook, I'll see somebody saying, I have this problem. What should I do? And sometimes I will offer my opinion or offer a suggestion, but sometimes I think, why are you asking this question? And I do see responses like this, like, if this is your problem, you should go see a doctor. You should seek a doctor's help, or you know what to do. You need to do what makes sense for you based on your individual situation, and we can't know what you should do based on one post on Facebook. Yet still there's this idea that I'm not trustworthy enough, so I need to go and poll everybody in the world and collect all their answers and figure out which answer has the most votes, and then that's what I'll do.
Well, I think it's okay if people go and ask others' opinion, but ultimately when they make their choice, I think that's what matters.
Right, and if I were to ask an opinion of somebody, hopefully I would go and find somebody who's done what I'm trying to do before and can, like, sort of like a wise older sister,
guide you through it.
Somebody who can say, well, when I was where you are, this is what worked for me. Or somebody who knows me, who knows what it is I'm trying to do, rather than like asking a whole bunch of strangers on the internet. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it just, to me, kind of shows a lack of self-trust. If I'm trusting myself, then I can ask people, what did you do? And it's different than saying, well, what should I do? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So I guess the last thing is that to get out of those boxes, if you will, the roles boxes, is I think that you and your spouse need to discuss how things are going to be set up in your family and then choose together. And if something in the future needs to be changed, again, have your powwow and change it.
Mm-hmm. And what that looks like for us. So last week, our kids had dentist appointments. And I was sitting at my desk because I had some things planned to do at that time. And I thought, I think I'm in the twilight zone. Because I'm here working and my husband is at the dentist with the kids.
It was the Twilight Zone this morning when I was cleaning the freezers.
Totally. We've had a lot of those Twilight Zone moments lately.
Yeah, I do most of the dinner cooking.
Like, my husband is cooking dinner and I'm doing interviews on the internet.
For the record, I like to cook, though.
He does like to cook more than I do.
In fact, Sunday. Was it Sunday? No, it was yesterday. I spent 2 hours making dinner.
And it was delicious. He's a good cook.
I do marginal cooking. I'm not open for business for cooking, though. Like, I won't clean your toilets for money. I will not cook for money. Okay, I might cook for money.
You might for the right price.
For the right price.
Who knows? I'm the right price. You cook for me.
I do cook for you all the time.
Right. And so I feel like even though we were married for 2 decades, pretty much, before all of this kind of started to shake out, we were able to renegotiate our relationship. So if you're like, but I've already been married 15 years. We can't go back to when we were engaged and like set up our family differently. We can't go back and like do it right this time. But it doesn't matter where you are in your relationship. You're not stuck where you are. You can always renegotiate the terms.
You can. And hopefully your partner will go along with it.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't, come to me for coaching because I can help you with that.
She absolutely can. I think for us, when we were married, I think things seemed pretty happy for a lot of years. Mm-hmm. But I think things did start to change. And I think we both saw that things needed to happen. Things need to be renegotiated, as you said.
How did you know that things needed to change?
Things didn't feel right between us. And I started to see the inequalities of things, where I was going out and I was doing these things and you were stuck at home all the time. And you would tell me that I need to go do things too. I remember one time I rode my motorcycle up to McCall and back, and I don't need to ask for permission, but I didn't see how that would affect your day. Mm-hmm. And there was other things that I would just be like, well, I'm going to go do this because it's my day off.
Yeah, and speaking up about that was hard for me.
Yeah, and the thing is, it didn't really dawn on me. But talking and then realizing what you'd been going through really helped me start to change the way I see things. And hopefully I'm better at things now. But
I think so for sure.
But I think we've been renegotiating things, and I think it helps. I think it helps things be better, because as you grow in your marriage, you're not staying the same person as you were when you were first married.
Hopefully
and so
not.
The thing is that as you grow and develop, things are naturally going to change, and things naturally need to change. Mm-hmm. And the thing is these cultural influences, wherever they may come from, may not suit you and your marriage.
Mm-hmm. But if they do, that's totally okay.
But if they do, and we're not trying to dog on the cultural influences that we've had. I think a lot of them are really valid, and they're really good. Mm-hmm. We love our church and our religion. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of good family and general cultural influences out there that are valid, and we should stick with them.
Yeah.
But there's things that are not. And that's something that you and I get to decide together. And I think that's a real big takeaway here, is that how you set up your family and how your relationship should be between the two of you, and not between you and your mother-in-law or
you and your religious leader.
Yeah, you or your religious leader, whoever they are, your bishop, pastor, or whoever. It's between us. Mm-hmm. And that goes with so many things too. It can be about how you raise your children. It could be about your sex life. It could be about anything, because it's between you and me.
Mm-hmm. I think the tendency to go outside of yourself to look for answers is really compelling, because if I take the advice of my mom, for example, and that didn't go so well for me, then I can kind of blame her and be like, well, it didn't work out, but it's not my fault because my mom told me to do it that way. So,
but if she did agree with you, now she's validating you, and now it might pit you against your husband.
Right. She'll validate me. And so then I'm like, oh, see, I'm doing the right thing because my mom, who I'm looking to for approval, is approving of me. But if it doesn't work out, then I can put the responsibility on her instead of having to take the responsibility of that for myself.
Now, with that being said, I don't think it's wrong to ask for advice from parents or family or different friends. But I think it's important to have the maturity to take that information and then apply it or not apply it to your specific situation. Right. And not get so caught up with validation or being hurt when they don't agree with
Right.
you.
And so it's all about why you're doing it. If you're doing it because your mom said, then that's one thing. But if you're doing it because you thought about what your mom said and realized, yeah, I think that will work for me, I'm going to do that, that's a whole different ballgame.
Right. So with all these influences, I think moving forward, we have been influenced a lot by the past, or people from the past, parents, grandparents, even some great grandparents, religion that has been around for a while, those cultural norms. I think by us deciding that we're going to do our own thing and then teaching that to our kids, I think is going to set our kids up for a greater success in the future as well. And it'll help them be more nimble, if you will, with their relationship, and that they won't feel like they have to get stuck on a track and now have to stick with that they get to decide what their life with their spouse is going to be.
Right. And the challenge in that for us is to step back and let them. And they may make mistakes, or they may do things that we're like, oh, that's not the right way. But for us to just step back and say, we support you and we love you and it's your life. You get to live it the way you want. I think that's the challenge for a lot of parents.
It is, because now you're going against the cultural norm, or you're worried about what others are going to think. Especially, and I felt that way with some of our kids. I've had to stop myself when I'm like, oh, what will so-and-so say? Or what will this other person say or think about us and our family?
Yeah, what will people at church say if they see our kids wearing such and such thing, or if they see our kids saying, or if they say certain things, our kids, kids, they'll say all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, like our 2.5, almost 3-year-old, he says a lot of inappropriate things now.
Taught to him by his older brothers.
In church. He even used the P word talking about male anatomy once in church. I had to, what are you doing?
Well, that's a little bit different.
Okay, maybe that's a little
You do
different.
want to teach your 2-year-old how to be appropriate in appropriate situations. Maybe talking about anatomy during church isn't necessarily, what we're going for here. You do, and that's a good point too. That you teach your children, especially when they're 2 and 3 and 6 and 10 or whatever. Like you're teaching your children values that you support or that you think are best, what will be best for them. But ultimately, at some point, you need to let go of that if you want to be happy and have a good relationship with them.
All right. I think we're close to being out of time. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Any funny anecdotes?
Ooh, do I have a funny story?
I have a little bit of a funny story. So Our youngest, he loves to ride the motorcycle. And every day he's been asking to ride the motorcycle. He doesn't want to ride my big motorcycle anymore. He wants to ride our little tiny 125 motorcycle. And so it's this tiny little motorcycle. And I'm kind of a big guy. I weigh 250 pounds. I'm 6'1". So here I am riding this tiny little motorcycle with my 2.5-year-old giving a ride. We have to look like a clown show. So I'm driving around, whooping and causing a lot of dust, and he just loves it. He thinks it's great.
That's
In fact, he grabs the foam piece on the handlebar and he kind of turns it like it's his own throttle.
Oh, that's cute.
It is funny.
Oh,
that's not really an anecdote. Well, it kind of is. Well, I think that's all we got.
All right. So tune in next week. We've got some amazing content for you.
Important marriage-y stuff.
Oh, totally.
Thanks for listening to the Marriage Bites podcast.
Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the fun.
Let us know what you took away from this episode by sending us an email at info@andelinprice.com.
You can also see what we're up to on Facebook and Instagram at Andelin Price Coaching. Or you can visit my website, andelinprice.com, to learn more. See you next week.
Bye. I wish I could have a bun, a bun of something, but I'm bald.
Oh, you got buns.
Dang it. I do grow some pretty gnarly ear hairs, though. Mm-hmm. They're pretty neat.
Yeah, you are pretty good at ear hairs.
Maybe someday we'll add those pictures of my ear hairs
or
to
not.
the podcast. They are awesome.
And so, if we're choosing to brain fart...